Captain Jin Suman stared at the holographic display showing the space around Earth. Hundreds of ships moved in careful patterns above the blue planet. Some carried wounded soldiers from distant wars. Others brought diplomats trying to make peace. All of them came to Earth because it was the only safe place in the galaxy. Jin had commanded the orbital station Haven's Gate for 3 years. Her job was simple, but important. She made sure Earth stayed neutral. No matter who was fighting, no matter how angry they got, Earth would not take sides. This was the law that kept the peace. The station floated high above Earth like a giant metal flower. Its arms stretched out to dock ships from every corner of the galaxy. Jin could see vessels from the Zephyrian Empire, their hulls painted in war colors. Next to them sat sleek ships from the Nexus Collective, their surfaces shining with advanced technology. Even the spiritual Luminar Commonwealth had ships here, glowing softly with their strange energy. "Captain, we have another medical transport requesting permission to dock," said Commander Park Kyung-ho from his station. He was Jin's second in command, a calm man who never lost his temper even when alien captains shouted at him. Jin looked at the request on her screen. It was a Nexus medical ship called Healing Wind. The ship was huge, nearly the size of a city. According to the message, it carried 3,000 wounded civilians from the latest battle between the Nexus and the Zephyrians. "Permission granted," Jin said. "Direct them to Medical Bay 7, and send word to Dr. Chen that she will have more patients soon." Down on Earth, Dr. Sarah Chen was already busy. The International Refugee Medical Center in Geneva never slept. In the past week, she had treated soldiers from 5 different species. A Zephyrian warrior with burns across his chest lay in one bed. Next to him, a Nexus engineer recovered from losing her arm in an explosion. They did not speak to each other, but they did not fight either. Earth's hospital was neutral ground. Dr. Chen believed in her work. She had seen too much war and too much hate. But here on Earth, she could heal instead of hurt. She could save lives instead of taking them. It was the one thing that made sense in a galaxy gone mad with fighting. "Doctor, we have incoming wounded from the Healing Wind," her assistant told her. Dr. Chen nodded and began preparing. 3,000 was a lot, even for Earth's advanced medical facilities. But they would manage. They always did. The war between the Zephyrians and the Nexus had been going on for 30 years. It started over trade routes and mining rights. Now nobody remembered what they were really fighting about. They just fought because they always had. The Luminar Commonwealth tried to make peace, but the other two sides were too angry to listen. Earth had stayed out of it from the beginning. When the aliens first came to Earth, 50 years ago, humanity made a choice. They would not pick sides in alien wars. Instead, they would be the place where enemies could meet safely. It cost them a lot. Earth could have joined one side and become rich from selling weapons. They could have conquered weaker species and built an empire. Instead, they chose to be peacekeepers. Many humans thought this made them weak, but Captain Jin knew better. Ambassador Michael Torres sat in his office at the United Nations building in New York. He was Earth's chief diplomat, the man who spoke for all humanity to the galaxy. Today he was reading reports from the latest battles. The fighting was getting worse. Both sides were losing ships faster than they could build them. His computer chimed with an urgent message. It was from the Galactic Federation Council. They wanted Earth to host another peace conference. Torres sighed. They had tried peace talks 12 times in the past 5 years. Each time, the talks failed because neither side trusted the other. But Earth would try again. That was what they did. They kept trying to make peace, even when it seemed impossible. Torres looked out his window at the city below. New York was full of aliens now. Refugees, diplomats, traders, and tourists walked the streets together. It was not always easy. Some species ate different food or breathed different air, but they made it work because Earth was neutral. Everyone was welcome as long as they followed the rules. Back on Haven's Gate, the healing wind finished docking. Jin watched through the station's cameras as medical teams rushed to help the wounded. Nexus civilians stumbled out of the ship, some carried on stretchers. Many were children who had never known anything but war. "Captain," Commander Park said quietly, "we have a problem." Jin turned to look at her second-in-command. Park was pointing at the long-range sensors. "A lot of them." "How many ships?" Jin asked. 23 vessels, including battle cruisers and destroyers. "They will reach us in 6 hours." Jin felt a cold worry in her stomach. Zephyrian fleets did not come to Earth unless something was wrong. They followed the rules, like everyone else. They brought their wounded to Earth's hospitals and attended peace talks when invited, but they never brought battle fleets. "Send a message to the fleet commander," Jin ordered. "Remind them that Earth is neutral space. All weapons must be powered down before entering our system." She hoped this was just a mistake. Maybe the Zephyrian commander did not know about the Nexus medical ship. Maybe they were just passing through. But as Jin watched the red dots on her screen moving closer to Earth, she had a bad feeling that everything was about to change. On Earth below, Dr. Chen worked on a young Nexus girl who had lost her leg in the bombing. The girl asked if her parents were safe. Dr. Chen did not know, but she smiled and promised they would find out. It was a promise she hoped she could keep. None of them knew that Earth's 50 years of peace were about to end. The Zephyrian fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of Earth's solar system. 23 warships hung in space like metal sharks, ready to attack. Their weapons were powered up and their shields were active. This broke every rule about visiting Earth. Captain Jin Soo-min watched the fleet on her screens. The lead ship was a massive battlecruiser called Domination. Its hull was covered in scars from many battles. Jin had never seen so many Zephyrian warships in one place near Earth. "Incoming transmission from the Zephyrian fleet," Commander Park announced. "Put it through," Jin said. The screen filled with the face of a Zephyrian commander. His skin was dark, gray, and covered with ritual battle scars. His eyes were the color of dried blood. This was War Marshal Thexvor, one of the most feared military leaders in the galaxy. "Human Station, this is War Marshal Thexvor of the Zephyrian Imperial Navy. We demand you surrender the Nexus vessel Healing Wind immediately." Jin kept her voice calm and steady. "War Marshal, this is Captain Jin of Earth Defense. The vessel you mention is a medical ship under Earth protection. We cannot surrender ships in our neutral space." Thexvor's scarred face twisted into an angry expression. "That ship carries enemies of the Zephyrian Empire. Your neutrality does not protect our enemies." "The ship carries wounded civilians receiving medical care," Jin replied. "Earth's neutrality protects all who seek healing, regardless of their species or politics." The War Marshal leaned forward, his red eyes burning with hate. "You humans think you are special because other species allow your little peace games. But you are weak. You have no real power. Stand aside or we will move you aside." Jin felt anger rising in her chest, but she kept her voice level. "Earth has maintained neutrality for 50 years. We will not break that tradition. The Terra Accords guarantee protection for all medical vessels in our space." "Your accords mean nothing to me," Thexvor snarled. "You have 1 hour to surrender the Nexus ship. If you refuse, we will take it by force." The transmission ended. Jin stared at the empty screen, her hands shaking slightly. In 50 years, no one had ever threatened Earth directly. Pirates and raiders had tried to attack shipping, but no major power had ever challenged Earth's neutrality. "Contact Ambassador Torres immediately," Jin ordered, "and get me a direct line to the Galactic Federation Council." Commander Park worked at his station, his fingers flying over the controls. "Captain, we have a problem. The Zephyrians are jamming all our long-range communications. We cannot reach anyone outside the solar system." Jin cursed softly. The Zephyrians were cutting Earth off from help. They wanted to handle this quietly, without the rest of the galaxy watching. Down on Earth, Ambassador Torres received Jin's emergency message. He immediately called for an emergency session of the Terra Council, Earth's governing body for galactic affairs. Within an hour, representatives from every nation on Earth were connected by video link. The situation is clear, Torres told the council. The Zephyrians are demanding we violate our neutrality. If we give them the medical ship, we destroy everything Earth stands for. If we refuse, they threaten to attack. What about the Federation? Asked the representative from Brazil. Surely they will help us. Communications are jammed, Torres replied. The Zephyrians have made sure we are on our own. On Haven's Gate, Dr. Chen worked frantically to treat the wounded from the healing wind. Many of the patients were in critical condition. Moving them now would kill them. She had to keep working, even as the threat of attack hung over the station. Captain Veltar of the Healing Wind came to see Dr. Chen. He was an old Nexus healer with kind eyes and gentle hands. Doctor, my people are grateful for your care, but we do not want Earth to suffer for helping us. Earth does not abandon patients, Dr. Chen said firmly. We will protect you and your people. But the Zephyrians will attack, Veltar said. My ship is not worth a war. Dr. Chen looked at the wounded civilians around her. Children who had never done anything wrong. Parents trying to protect their families. Everyone is worth protecting, she said. Back on the bridge, Jin watched the countdown timer. 30 minutes until the Zephyrian deadline. Her small defense fleet was moving into position around the medical ship. 5 ships against 23. It was not good odds, but they would do their duty. Captain, Park said quietly, the crew is ready. We will not let them take the medical ship. Jin nodded. She was proud of her people. They knew they might die today, but they would not break Earth's neutrality. All ships, this is Captain Jin, she broadcast to her small fleet. Today we defend more than just one ship. We defend the idea that there can be peace in this galaxy. We defend the promise that Earth is safe for everyone. The timer reached 0. War Marshal Thex Vor appeared on the screen again. Have you made your decision, human? We have, Jin said. Earth will not surrender the medical ship. We ask you to respect our neutrality and withdraw from our space. Thex Vor's laugh was like grinding metal. Then you have chosen to die for aliens who care nothing about you. We choose to live for the principles that make life worth living, Jin replied. The War Marshal's expression grew cold. So be it. But remember, human, you forced this choice. He cut the transmission. On Jin's screens, the Zephyrian ships began moving forward, their weapons charged to full power. Jin had hoped the Zephyrians were bluffing. War Marshal Thex Vor made his calculation quickly. A precise strike on the medical ship would show human weakness. The other species would see that Earth could not protect anyone. Future medical ships would not come here. Earth's neutrality would become meaningless. He targeted the healing wind and gave the order to fire. The energy beam lanced out from his flagship. It was supposed to destroy the medical ship cleanly, but the shot had to pass through Earth's orbital medical station to reach its target. The beam cut through Haven's Gate like a sword through paper. Emergency alarms screamed as sections of the station lost power and air. Then it hit the healing wind. The medical ship exploded in a ball of fire and metal. 300 patients and medical staff died instantly. 47 humans on the medical station died with them, including most of Dr. Chen's research team. Jin watched in horror as pieces of the medical ship drifted past her bridge windows. She could see bodies floating in space. People who had come to Earth for help. People who had trusted in Earth's protection. Casualties on Medical Bay 7. Park reported, his voice shaking. Direct hit. No survivors. Jin stared at the wreckage. For 50 years, no one had died violently in Earth's space. Now, people were dead, because Earth had tried to help them. Dead because someone had decided that Earth's neutrality meant nothing. The rage that filled Jin was unlike anything she had ever felt. It was cold and pure and terrible. Around Earth, her small defense fleet moved to attack positions. But the Zephyrians were already leaving, satisfied with their demonstration of power. War Marshal Thexvor sent one final message. Perhaps now you understand your place in this galaxy. Humans. As Jin watched the Zephyrian ships disappear into faster-than-light travel, she made a promise to herself and to the dead floating in space around her. Earth would remember this day. And Earth would make sure the galaxy remembered it too. The news spread across Earth in less than an hour. Every television, radio, and computer screen showed the same terrible images. The wreckage of the medical ship, floating in space. The damage to Haven's Gate. The bodies of humans and aliens who had died together. President Kim Min-jun stood before the United Nations General Assembly. The Great Hall was packed with representatives from every nation on Earth. The mood was dark and angry. For the first time in 50 years, Earth had been directly attacked. My fellow humans. The president began, his voice heavy with grief. Today, our neutrality was not just challenged, it was murdered. 47 of our people died trying to help wounded civilians. 300 patients died under our protection. The hall was silent. On the screens around the room, they could see the rescue team still pulling bodies from the wreckage. Dr. Chen was among them, her medical uniform torn and blood-stained as she searched for survivors. The Zephyrian Empire claims this was a legitimate military action, President Kim continued. They say that our neutrality was always an illusion. They believe that because we choose peace, we are weak. Ambassador Torres sat in the front row, his face grim. He had spent his entire career building Earth's reputation as a neutral mediator. Now that reputation lay in ruins, destroyed by War Marshal Thexvor's arrogance. Today, we suspend the Terra Accords, President Kim announced. Earth withdraws from all diplomatic missions. We will no longer serve as neutral ground for those who do not respect neutrality. The representatives began to murmur. This was the biggest change in Earth policy since first contact with alien species. But we will not withdraw from our principles, the president said, his voice growing stronger. We still believe in protecting the innocent. We still believe in helping those who need help. We just will not do it with our hands tied behind our backs. On Haven's Gate, Captain Jin coordinated the rescue operations. The station's medical bay was badly damaged, but most of the structure was intact. Her crew worked alongside volunteers from Earth to save everyone they could. Commander Park approached her with a datapad. Captain, we are receiving new orders from Earth Command. Jin took the pad and read the message. Her eyes widened as she saw the security clearance level. This was higher than anything she had ever seen before. Report to Luna Base immediately, she read aloud. By order of the President, Operation Sleeping Giant is now active. Park looked confused. Sleeping Giant? I have never heard of that operation. Jin had heard whispers about it during her military training, rumors of secret projects and hidden weapons. She had always assumed they were just stories to make new recruits feel important. But the clearance codes were real. Pack your things, Jin told Park. We are going to the moon. Dr. Chen finally returned to her apartment in Geneva late that night. Her hands were still shaking from the surgery she had performed on the survivors. She had saved 12 people. It did not feel like enough. Her computer chimed with an urgent message. It was from the medical corps, calling her back to active duty. Dr. Chen had served in the military before becoming a civilian doctor. She thought those days were behind her. The message was brief. Report to Luna Base for special assignment. Authorization level Alpha Black. Dr. Chen had never heard of Alpha Black clearance, but she knew what it meant. Earth was preparing for something big. Across the planet, similar messages went out to thousands of people. Scientists, engineers, soldiers, and strategists. All of them had one thing in common. They had been quietly recruited years ago for a project that might never be needed. That project was about to become very real. Luna Base sat on the far side of the moon, hidden from Earth's view. Most people thought it was just a research station studying the moon's geology. They were wrong. Luna Base was Earth's most carefully guarded secret. General Lee Jong-soo commanded the base. He was a small, quiet man who looked like a university professor. But he had been planning for this day for 20 years. He had hoped it would never come, but he was ready. Deep beneath the moon's surface, massive factories hummed with activity. Automated systems that had been dormant for years came online. Robots began assembling weapons and ships using technology that no alien species had ever seen. Earth's neutrality had been a choice, not a necessity. While the galaxy fought its wars, human scientists had studied every battle, every weapon, every tactic. They had learned from everyone and improved on everything. The first ships rolled out of the hidden shipyards within days. They looked nothing like the patrol vessels that defended Earth's space. These were warships, built for one purpose: to fight and win. Captain Jin arrived at Luna Base and could not believe what she saw. The ship assigned to her was called Retribution. It was 3 times the size of her old command, with armor that seemed to drink in light and weapons that hummed with deadly energy. "This has been waiting for you," General Lee told her as they toured the ship. "How long have you been preparing for this?" Jin asked. "Since first contact," Lee replied. "We knew that someday, someone would mistake our mercy for weakness. We decided to be ready." The ship's artificial intelligence came online as Jin stepped onto the bridge. It spoke with a calm, pleasant voice that somehow made it more frightening. "Good morning, Captain Jin. I am Ares, your tactical system. I have studied every Zephyrian battle in the past 30 years. I know their strengths, their weaknesses, and their fears." Dr. Chen joined Jin's crew as chief medical officer. She had requested combat assignment, despite her years as a civilian doctor. The attack had changed her. She still wanted to heal, but now she understood that sometimes healing required fighting. "I keep thinking about those children on the medical ship," Dr. Chen told Jin as they prepared for departure. "They came to us for help, and we could not protect them. We will protect the next ones," Jin replied. "And we will make sure this never happens again." War Marshal Thex Vor received reports about increased activity around Earth, but he dismissed them as meaningless. Humans had no real military. Their few patrol ships were barely armed. Even if they built new vessels, they could not match Zephyrian technology and experience. He was fighting the Nexus Collective on 12 different fronts. A few angry humans were the least of his concerns. The Galactic Federation Council finally received word of the attack on Earth. The response was mixed. Some species called for sanctions against the Zephyrians. Others worried about escalating the war. A few quietly approved of the attack, thinking that Earth's neutrality had always been annoying. None of them understood what was coming. Earth's new fleet began with small operations. Zephyrian supply convoys started disappearing near the outer colonies. Lone scouts went missing. Communication stations went offline without explanation. At first, the Zephyrians blamed the Nexus Collective. But the Nexus had their own problems, and could not spare ships for raids so far from the main battle zones. It took 3 weeks for the Zephyrians to realize the truth. The humans were coming for them, and the humans were very, very angry. The first major attack came without warning. Captain Jin's fleet emerged from faster-than-light travel directly above Kepler Station, the largest Zephyrian supply depot in the sector. The station's sensors had detected nothing until the human ships appeared like ghosts materializing in space. "All ships, this is Captain Jin," she broadcast to her fleet. "Remember, we target military installations only. Any ship carrying medical supplies or civilian refugees is off limits." The 12 ships under her command spread into attack formation. Each vessel, used technology that the Zephyrians had never seen before. Their hulls were covered in adaptive armor that shifted and changed to deflect incoming fire. Their weapons fired beams of pure energy that could cut through the strongest shields. Kepler Station was huge, almost the size of a small moon. Its defensive platforms bristled with weapons designed to stop entire fleets. The station commander was a veteran warrior named Krekthal, who had fought in hundreds of battles. "Unknown ships, identify yourselves," Krekthal demanded over the communication system. "This is Captain Jin Su-min of the Earth Defense Force," Jin replied calmly. "You are harboring the fleet of War Marshal Thexvor, who committed war crimes against neutral Earth space. Surrender him now, or we will take him by force." Krekthal laughed, a harsh sound like breaking glass. "Humans? You think you can threaten us? This station has more firepower than your entire planet. You are welcome to test that theory," Jin said. The battle began when Krekthal ordered his weapons platforms to fire. Hundreds of energy bolts and missiles streaked toward the human ships. The Zephyrians expected to see the human vessels destroyed or at least heavily damaged. Instead, the human ships seemed to dance between the weapons' fire. Their artificial intelligence systems calculated the trajectory of every shot and moved the ships accordingly. What could not be avoided was absorbed by armor that grew stronger with each hit. Jin's flagship, Retribution, moved like a living thing. Its AI, ARES, had studied Zephyrian tactics for decades. It knew exactly how they would attack and had prepared counters for every strategy. "Target the command center," Jin ordered. "Precision strike only." The ship's main weapon charged with a high-pitched whine. A beam of coherent energy lanced out and struck the station's command tower. The entire structure simply vanished, turned to vapor by the heat of the blast. Krekthal died instantly, along with his entire staff. The station's defenses went silent as their control systems failed. "Attention Kepler Station," Jin broadcast. "This is your only warning. Evacuate all civilian personnel immediately. You have 10 minutes. The human ships waited as escape pods and civilian transports fled the station. Jin could have destroyed them easily, but she let them go. Earth's war was with the Zephyrian military, not with innocent people. When the evacuation was complete, the human fleet destroyed the station with surgical precision. They targeted weapons, fuel depots, and communication arrays. They left the medical bay untouched. The attack lasted 20 minutes. When it was over, Kepler Station was a crippled hulk floating in space. The Zephyrian Third Fleet, which had been docked for repairs, was destroyed completely. But the most shocking part came next. Dr. Chen led medical teams to rescue Zephyrian survivors from the wreckage. The humans, who had just destroyed their station, now risked their own lives to save them. "Why are you helping us?" asked a wounded Zephyrian engineer as Dr. Chen treated his injuries. "Because you are hurt," Dr. Chen replied simply. "That is enough." News of the attack spread through Zephyrian space like wildfire. The humans had appeared from nowhere, destroyed a major military installation, and disappeared just as quickly. Worse, they had shown mercy to civilians while being ruthless against military targets. War Marshal Thexvor received the report while commanding operations against the Nexus Collective. He read it 3 times before accepting that it was real. "Impossible," he growled. "Humans do not have this kind of technology." His intelligence officer, a nervous young female named Sirath, presented more reports. "Sir, we have confirmed similar attacks on supply convoys, communication relays, and patrol bases. The humans seem to know our positions before we reach them." "How many ships do they have?" Thexvor demanded. "Unknown, sir. They appear without warning, strike quickly, and vanish. Our sensors cannot track them properly." Thexvor studied the tactical displays. The humans were targeting his supply lines and communication networks. They were not trying to conquer territory. They were trying to cripple his ability to wage war. "Recall the Fifth Fleet from the Nexus front," he ordered. "Sir, that will leave our positions vulnerable to Nexus counterattack," Sireth warned. "The humans are a greater threat," Thexvor replied. "At least the Nexus fight like civilized beings. These humans fight like—" He struggled to find the right word. The humans fought with a cold efficiency that frightened him. They showed no anger, no hatred, no desire for glory. They simply killed his people and moved on to the next target. Captain Jin's fleet struck again 2 days later. This time, they hit a Zephyrian prison facility that held captured Nexus civilians. The attack was even more precise than before. The human ships disabled the facility's weapons without harming the prison blocks. Ground troops landed and freed the prisoners while providing medical care to those who had been mistreated. They left behind medical supplies and a message for the prison guards: "Earth does not forget those who harm innocents." The freed prisoners were mostly families who had been captured during raids on Nexus colonies. Children who had not seen their parents in months. Elderly people who had been separated from their caregivers. Dr. Chen worked with a young Nexus girl who reminded her of the patients killed on the medical ship. "What is your name?" she asked gently. "Linsa," the girl whispered. "Are you really from Earth?" "Yes," Dr. Chen replied. "We came to take you home." "But why?" "We are not human." Dr. Chen smiled sadly. "Because someone hurt you. And Earth does not let that go unpunished." The psychological effect of these attacks was greater than the military damage. Zephyrian soldiers began to fear the humans, who could appear anywhere, anytime. They called them ghost ships and shadow warriors. The humans never tortured prisoners or harmed civilians, but they showed no mercy to military personnel who had participated in attacks on neutral targets. They were judges, jury, and executioners all at once. Commander Kyung-ho Park, now serving as Jin's executive officer, studied intelligence reports about Zephyrian troop movements. "Captain, they are pulling forces back from 3 different fronts to hunt for us." "Good," Jin replied. "The more ships they send after us, the fewer they have to attack innocents with." "Are we winning?" Park asked. Jin looked at the tactical display showing Zephyrian space. Red dots marked their targets. Blue dots showed their victories. But she was not thinking about victory in the traditional sense. "We are teaching them a lesson," she said. "The galaxy needs to learn that neutrality is not weakness, peace is not cowardice, and mercy is not the same as helplessness." The lesson was about to become much more expensive for the Zephyrians to learn. ARs, the tactical AI, had been analyzing Zephyrian command patterns for weeks. It had identified the location of War Marshal Thexvor's flagship and predicted where he would go next. "Captain," the AI announced in its calm voice, "I have located our primary target." Jin smiled grimly. It was time to show the War Marshal what happened when someone murdered patients in Earth's care. "Plot a course for Draconis Prime," she ordered. "It is time to collect what the War Marshal owes us." Draconis Prime was the strongest fortress in Zephyrian space. The planet was covered in weapons platforms, shield generators, and military bases. It was where War Marshal Thexvor had retreated with the remains of his fleet, hoping the planet's defenses would protect him from the human raiders. Captain Jin's fleet emerged from faster-than-light travel at the edge of the system. This time, they did not hide. They wanted the Zephyrians to see them coming. "Attention Draconis Prime," Jin broadcast on all frequencies. "This is Captain Jin Su-min of the Earth Defense Force. We demand the immediate surrender of War Marshal Thexvor and his command staff for trial on charges of war crimes." The response came from Thexvor himself. His scarred face appeared on Jin's screen, twisted with rage and fear. "You dare come to the heart of Zephyrian space? You will die here. Human." "Maybe," Jin replied calmly. "But you will face justice for murdering patients under Earth's protection. Surrender now, and your people will be spared." Thexvor's laugh was harsh and desperate. I have 200 ships here. You have 12. This ends now. Yes, Jin agreed. It does. The war marshal cut the transmission and ordered his entire fleet to attack. Every ship in orbit around Draconis Prime moved to intercept the humans. It was the largest concentration of Zephyrian military power in the sector. Jin watched the enemy ships approach on her tactical display. ARs, her AI system, was already calculating firing solutions and evasion patterns. The artificial intelligence had studied every battle in galactic history. It knew exactly how to fight this enemy. All ships, engage at will, Jin ordered. Remember, we are here for justice, not conquest. The battle that followed would become legendary across the galaxy. The human ships moved like dancers, their adaptive armor shifting to counter each new threat. Their weapons fired with mathematical precision, each shot calculated to cause maximum damage to military targets. The Zephyrian ships fought bravely, but they were facing an enemy unlike any they had encountered before. Human technology did not just match theirs. It surpassed it. More importantly, human tactics were completely unpredictable. Eris had identified a weakness in Zephyrian fleet formations. When attacked, they always moved into a defensive pattern that had served them well against traditional enemies. But the AI had designed a counter that turned their strength into weakness. The human ships split into smaller groups and attacked from multiple directions. Each group acted independently, forcing the Zephyrians to split their attention. As the enemy ships tried to respond to threats from all sides, gaps opened in their formation. Jin's flagship, Retribution, dove through one of these gaps like a sword thrust. Its main weapon charged and fired, destroying 3 Zephyrian cruisers with a single shot. The beam continued through space and struck a weapons platform on the planet's surface, turning it to molten metal. Impossible, Thexvor whispered as he watched his fleet being destroyed. His intelligence officer, Sirath, worked frantically at her station. Sir, their ships are using some kind of learning technology. Every time we fire at them, they adapt and become harder to hit. Thexvor realized with growing horror that he had made a terrible mistake. The humans were not the weak species he had thought they were. They had been hiding their true strength, waiting for someone foolish enough to attack them. Dr. Chen worked in Retribution's medical bay, treating human crew members wounded in the battle. Despite their advanced technology, people still got hurt when ships took damage. But she also prepared for something else. She knew they would have Zephyrian prisoners to treat soon. Doctor, we are receiving escape pods from destroyed enemy ships, her assistant reported. Bring them aboard, Dr. Chen ordered. Set up quarantine areas and prepare for multiple species medical needs. Some of her staff looked confused. Doctor, these are enemy soldiers who were trying to kill us minutes ago. They are patients now, Dr. Chen replied firmly. That is all that matters. The battle raged for 3 hours. One by one, Zephyrian ships were destroyed or disabled. The humans fought with cold efficiency, but they still followed their rules. When enemy ships tried to surrender, the humans accepted. When escape pods launched from dying vessels, human ships moved to rescue the survivors. This confused and demoralized the Zephyrians more than the military defeats. They could not understand an enemy that tried to save their lives while destroying their ships. Finally, only Thexvor's flagship remained. The massive battle cruiser, Domination, hung in space, its escorts destroyed, its weapons systems failing. The war marshal faced a choice between surrender and death. This is Captain Jin, came the voice over his communication system. War Marshal Thexvor, you are defeated. Surrender your ship and prepare to be taken into custody. Thexvor looked around his bridge. His crew was watching him, waiting for orders. He could fight to the end and take them all down with him. Or he could accept defeat and face the consequences of his actions. What guarantee do I have that you will not execute me? He asked. The same guarantee you gave the patients on the medical ship Jin replied coldly. None. But unlike you, we follow laws of war. HFY realized he had no choice. His fleet was destroyed. His planet's defenses were failing. And the humans had proven they could reach anywhere in Zephyrian space. If he continued to fight, he would only get more of his people killed. I surrender, he said, finally. Human boarding parties secured domination within an hour. HFY was taken into custody, along with his senior officers. The war marshal expected to be mistreated or tortured. Instead, he was given medical attention for his injuries and assigned a comfortable cell. Dr. Chen examined him personally, treating wounds he had received when his ship was hit. Why are you helping me? He asked, echoing the question his own soldiers had asked. Because you are hurt, she replied, just as she had before. The news of HFY's defeat spread across the galaxy faster than light-speed communication. The Zephyrian Empire's most feared military leader had been captured by humans. Their strongest fortress had been defeated by 12 ships. More importantly, the humans had shown mercy to their defeated enemies. Zephyrian survivors told stories of human doctors treating their wounds and human soldiers sharing their food. The galaxy began to understand that Earth's strength came not just from superior technology, but from superior principles. The war crimes trial of War Marshal HFY was held on Earth, broadcast live across the galaxy. Representatives from every major species attended as witnesses. The evidence was clear and overwhelming. Video recordings showed the attack on the medical ship. Testimony from survivors confirmed that it was deliberate murder of patients under neutral protection. HFY was found guilty and sentenced to life in prison. But more importantly, the Zephyrian Empire formally acknowledged Earth's neutrality and agreed to pay reparations for the attack. The Terra Accords were rewritten with new enforcement provisions that made it clear what would happen to those who violated them. Captain Jin stood on the observation deck of the rebuilt Haven's Gate medical station. Through the transparent aluminum windows, she could see ships from across the galaxy docking at the station's arms. Zephyrian vessels brought their wounded to be treated by human doctors. Nexus transports delivered supplies for refugee camps. Even species that had been enemies for centuries met peacefully in Earth's space. Dr. Chen joined her at the observation deck. She had returned to her civilian medical work, but she still wore the uniform of a reserve officer. The galaxy knew that Earth's doctors could heal or fight, depending on what the situation required. Do you think we did the right thing? Dr. Chen asked. Jin thought about the question carefully. The war had cost lives on both sides. Earth had abandoned its complete pacifism and shown that it could be as dangerous as any military power in the galaxy. But the medical station was full of patients receiving care regardless of their species or politics. Diplomatic missions were meeting again to discuss peace instead of planning attacks. The galaxy was learning to respect neutrality instead of seeing it as weakness. We did what was necessary, Jin said finally. We showed the galaxy that peace must be defended, or it becomes meaningless. In the distance, a Zephyrian medical transport requested permission to dock. Its captain was polite and respectful, following all protocols. The ship carried wounded civilians from a recent industrial accident, seeking the best medical care in the galaxy. Permission granted, Jin said into her communicator. Direct them to Medical Bay 7. Earth was neutral again. But now everyone understood what that neutrality was built on. Not weakness, but strength. Not fear, but principle. Not an inability to fight, but a choice to heal. The galaxy had learned its lesson. Earth's neutrality was not an invitation to attack. It was a promise of protection for all who needed it, and a warning to all who would harm the innocent. The sleeping giant was awake now, and it would never sleep so deeply again.